From the kitchen of the cabin, it's the 5 Games for Doomsday review.
All bridges burning. Theme kicks the door in. The gang arrives at the location. Mechanics and components nod over to Theme. Theme nods back, walks up to the door and kicks it in. It's then that mechanics and components can get to work. They work on things like engagement and tactile buy-in. They do a lot of the heavy lifting. But they wouldn't be able to do their jobs without Theme. The size 12 boot that Theme used to kick in the door of the Coin series for me was Gandhi. There is a strong reactionary tendency in the British psyche. There is also a rather unfortunate habit of looking back into history and taking the standard view, well, pretty much at face value. This is far from unusual in the blinkered format of the nation-state. The arbitrary lines scored across the map have nothing else to justify them than blind faith. Faith that the place that you were born in and are wedded to is good and always has been. The psychic shock of realising that that pure origin story stinks is profound, and like any psychic shock, you can try to avoid it by ramming your head into very small pieces of national myth. It makes sense too. We all know that the world outside is as scary as hell, so we like to focus on the pleasant things like cheese rolling and clotted cream. Not Amritsar, not theft, not genocide. I'm not a person that is attracted to the raw mechanics of war. On one side, it seems like bland accountancy, provisioning, timetabling and logistics. But all of those resource lists and those requisition sheets facilitate hell. Being torn apart by machine gun fire simply because your Eton-educated bloke has had a row with theirs. These war games that turn people into things to be deployed and removed from the board turn me off. I appreciate that there is a lot to be learned by looking at combat in this way. It's just not my thing. I want the story of war, and I want that story to be rooted in humanity at its best and at its worst. Brutality and camaraderie, death and courage. War is a staple for humanity, and we can learn so much about who we are by the study of it. We can learn about those things that divide us, and by studying them, we can seek to eliminate them. That's why I was attracted to Gandhi. This is a war game that promised to tell the story of a country, and not in terms of formations and troop divisions, but in thought and struggle, in politics and war. It promised to force players to address the motivations and interests of factions diametrically opposed to one another, and to understand them. Not agree with them, that's never the point, but understand them, as understanding is far more useful than agreement. And it delivered on that promise. Gandhi is a story told from different perspectives. There is no jingoistic chest beating, but a sober treatment of a difficult situation. By the way, this is not a review of Gandhi. That will come later. I mention it simply because it was the theme of Gandhi that kicked open the door for me to Volko Runke's wonderful coin system. And that led me to All Bridges Burning, a game set in an era of history that I knew nothing about, and I'm very grateful that it did. In All Bridges Burning, players take on the various factions that are vying to fill the power vacuum that sprung up in Finland after the Russian forces evacuated the country to fight the revolution in 1918. There are the socialist forces rising up in the cities of the south, keen to assert labour interests and ensure the rise of the proletariat. There is the Senate, the forces of conservatism in Finland, They court the Prussian Empire and seek a more stratified order. And in between are a small coterie of writers and intellectuals pushing against the tide of factional interest and trying to arrest the inevitable disintegration of order in the country. Their goal is to try and foster harmony between two sides hell-bent on destroying each other. The game leverages the card system of the coin series, and there is a lot here that's familiar if you've played any of the other games. But for the uninitiated, it goes a little something like this. Command and special activity. This is a super turn. You can perform one of your various commands in as many spaces as you're able. This means you can do any number of things to further your interests and to hobble those of your opponents. Then you're able to do a second action that can get you money or score you points. This can help you to leap forward, but renders you ineligible for the next turn. Limited command. Here, you can perform one of your commands in one region of the board. This is obviously less effective, but allows you to go again on the next turn. Event. Every round, there is an event that can be triggered by the players. If you take this action, you do what it says on the card. You may do this simply because it's too good to turn down, or because giving your opponent the opportunity to do it is simply too much to bear. All of the factions are able to go every turn, which is unique to All Bridges Burning. As in the other games, the factions operate every other turn. This makes the choice of which action to take a delicious one. Unlike many other games, you may deliberately take the sub-optimal route simply because it sets you up wonderfully for the next turn, or because putting yourself at the head of the queue allows you to poke a stick into the spokes of your opponent. What I love about the coin games I've played, and All Bridges Burning is no exception, is that it deals with so much more than the rat-a-tat-tat of machine guns and the removal of units. These games tell of the political battles that accompany every military one. There are moments of tense quiet and moments of tragic kinetic action, and all of the sacrifices and brutality of war, the moments of heroism and the moments of villainy are played out in front of you. Indeed, in All Bridges Burning, the first half of the game is played before the war starts, and the inevitability of conflict is made all the more stark as both sides prepare for slaughter and the moderates fight ineffectually to pass futile political policies in the hope that it will stop the Cold War turning hot. This is a design of fabulous asymmetry. It's not just in the varied actions of the factions that this is present, but also in the arc of the game. The Reds leap out into an early lead, rapidly garnering the support of the urban poor. But as the tensions reach their boiling point, the Senate flexes its influence and a white flood smashes into the cities from the rural north. The moderates threaten being swamped by rabid factionalism and hide, only putting their heads above the parapet in the moments of direst need and in the hope they can limit polarization with a consoling word or an elegant phrase. It's in this that the game excels. Each faction feels completely different, and the tension between pursuing your goals while your opponents try to destroy you keeps you rooted to the board throughout the game. This isn't a Euro game that will be a breeze for those unfamiliar with war games. There is a lot to grok here, but you will be greatly rewarded by your indulgence and your patience. Once you start to grasp this game, you'll see that there is so much to trammel in it. One minute you feel in complete control, and the next totally out of your depth. And it's this ever-changing dynamism that keeps you sitting in the chair and completely engrossed. At the end of the day, All Bridges Burning is not a game that glorifies war. It is a game that seeks to teach a lesson. It's a lesson that if you cleave too strongly to an ideology, you will demonize and ultimately kill those that disagree with you. The moderates offer the hope in this game, but their voices are too faint. They get drowned out by the bellicose and the partisan. All Bridges Burning is a game that rewards the work that you put into it, and I can't recommend it highly enough. That's why I'm so glad that the theme of Gandhi kicked open the door so the coin system could do its work, and I could immerse myself in the world of All Bridges Burning. Thank you for watching this, and if you think it's worth supporting, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D, and please subscribe to the channel.